I am so glad you convinced me that the family car should be the Defender 110. It is so beautiful inside. It's so comfortable and it just feels indestructible.
Yes, it really is. I've been waiting a long time for the new model to come out. The Defender 110, I'm telling you, it's my favorite car of all times. It's my third one. You know, I have stories of going off road. The guy managed the group. He was like, "What are you doing in this beautiful car?" I'm like, "I'm going off road." He's like, "Are you sure? Because you can use one of ours." And then they look like Mad Max cars. I'm like, no, we're going to do this. And he was shocked.
Wow. Well, it's great because the Defender has been reimagined for 21st century adventure, and its unparalleled off-road ability as well as its robust interior are invaluable whether you're headed towards uncharted territory or just a weekend of exploration. The Defender 110 tackles challenging surroundings with absolute confidence. The SUV conveys strength outside and in, featuring peerless technology like an intuitive driver display and an award-winning infotainment system. That's my favorite part, to keep you connected no matter where the journey takes you. Adventure is unique to everyone, and so is the Defender. Choose from the two-door Defender 90, the four-door Defender 110, or the larger Defender 130 with the ability to seat up to 8 passengers. You'll find uncompromising performance in all three. So pack up and go even further with the Defender 110. Learn more at LandRoverUSA.com/Defender.
Sometimes it takes a different approach to help you unlock your true potential. Capella University's game-changing FlexPath format helps you learn at your own pace and fit earning a degree into your life. From before you enroll to after you graduate, you'll be supported by people who are invested in your success so you can pursue your goals knowing that help is available if you need it. Imagine your future differently at capella.edu.
Okay, so your joke that you told in Toronto and your feelings about it, you had to develop that skill of you were always, I feel like from the beginning when you started doing stand-up, you were great at telling a story, and you had so many crazy stories because you were the number one party animal in the world. Mm-hmm. So you had so many like just crazy stories, but for stand-up, you had to like punch it up. And I feel like that was a skill you probably spent a long time learning, but now that you're so comfortable with it, it's almost like you're, and you tell me if I'm wrong, it's almost like you're naturally saying, okay, well, I don't want to be in my comfort zone for too long. What's the next step? So what do you think will happen when you stop telling these nifty ending stories? What's the next step for your development?
I've actually put a lot of thought in that. It's one of the reasons I love Bill Burr as a friend. He's a great guy, but I really respect him as an artist because what I noticed he did, and I don't know if he cognizantly noticed, but I've known Bill from when he did clean material. Like when he just worked clean and he like sounded like Brian Regan. And what he decided to do was challenge himself and go in new directions. So I've actually thought I would like to be able to act out more on stage.
Which you do in this special much more than The Machine. Secret Time, it's 3/4 you're acting out.
Yeah.
The Machine, you're telling
stories. I
was
super high energy. When I started, I was all act out. And then I was
And by the way, just to define, act out means you're doing voices. Instead of just saying, this is what my dad said, you'll get your dad's voice, you'll get your wife's voice.
Dimitri Martin's got no act out in his material. It's great material, but he doesn't act out much. Sebastian, on the other hand, would be...
It's all act out.
All act out. So I would love to increase that more. I would love to... I really, honestly, part of me feels like I might do like a one-man show, because I have all this material about working on Travel Channel, but it's very... exclusive. It's like my material, I think what I'm good at is making you feel like we're all in a living room and hanging out and I'm just telling you stories. But when I do my Travel Channel stuff, it really is almost like 1%er. Like you're like, well, did I tell you about the time I was in Vietnam? Or everyone's like, I've never even, like it takes them a second to go, what? Wait, what?
Yeah, like, but the thing is, and this is how you leveraged your party animal skills into comedy, is that the audience, you're throwing a party on the stage, and the audience wants to come to the party. I notice in your specials, the audience laughs at stuff that's not even really that funny because they just want to join you. And I'm not saying this is an insult.
No, I know. I don't take that as an insult.
You're telling a story. You don't even intend every word to be funny. But when you say, all I did was blurt out, I am the machine, everyone laughs. It's not a punchline.
There's no punchline.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's funny. Like, of course, our buddy Bert Kreischer is up on stage, and then he's telling about talking to Russian gangsters that he's so nervous. He says he's the machine, and then they welcome him in with open arms. Like, that's funny to the audience, and the way you say it, like your shirt's off, and you have the right bellow in your voice, and it works.
It's really interesting you say that. I've noticed that a lot. Where like in the machine story specifically, like there's lines that I go are not funny, but they get a laugh, and you're like, am I muscling that down their throats? But then you're like, fuck it. As part of the,
part of humor is persona and stage presence, which it's almost like you borrowed from, let's say, the 10,000 hours skill of being the best party animal ever.
That's a brilliant fucking statement. I feel like, what's so funny? Someone asked me the other day, when did you know you were a good storyteller? Or something like that. In ninth grade. And I made a joke about this on stage the other day. I can't remember exactly, but I went on a rant about hot chicks, about something about hot chicks. I forget what it was. I should watch that video. But something about hot chicks, and going, I would love to be able to have been a hot chick growing up. Like, that would have been great, just to be hot. And then you're as an attractive woman, you're automatically famous. Like, you turn heads and people look at you and they want to meet you. But I was like, I had to learn how to tell a story. Ninth grade, I remember I went to an all-boys Catholic high school, and it was so different than my other high school because there were no girls there. So you had to have an ascertainable talent to be able to sit at a lunch table. Like, you had to have a reason to be at that cool lunch table. Like, if you looked around all the lunch tables and one lunch table was hot and people were standing up around it, you had to have a reason to have a seat there. And for me, my reason was telling a story. I remember rehearsing my stories from religion class over to the cafeteria, being like, all right, I'm going to tell the story about the beer run that we did and came in when he jumped. And I literally was like, and then a dog jumps in. Oh, that'd be funny as shit. And so I learned how to tell a story in high school.
So part of it is, and this goes back to the beginning, but I think it leads to the comedy, it leads to all your career, is on the one hand, you appear fearless. Like, you'll go on stage, you'll take your shirt off. It's almost as if you don't care what people think. You're in the machine, your gut is sort of hanging out a little bit.
Yeah.
On your reality shows, you'll fight a bear just because the producer tells you to. Like, you don't want people to dislike you, and you appear fearless. But the contrast is, a lot of it is because you desperately want people to like you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, hardcore.
And when do you think that started? It started at the age of 12. So what happened at the age of 12?
I don't know.
I don't know either. You're gonna have to think about it.
Is that what?
I'm just guessing. 13, 12.
I don't know. I really honestly don't know, but I desperately, I have been well aware of that, and especially in like the comment section on Instagram. I don't like negative comments. I delete them. Really messes me up. So like I stopped reading them altogether. And then today Gary V put out this video of like, you need to be reading every comment. That's how you know what to do next.
That's bullshit.
I was like, you're wrong. You're actually really wrong. You're really wrong, and you're being misleading, because I don't think you actually read your comments. And you probably have someone read your comments, and then they give you feedback, but you're not doing it. And I'm doing it on the ground level, and trust me, it fucking sucks.
It's painful.
Yeah,
because the only people who leave comments, by the way, are people who are going to leave negative comments. The people who love you, they just, when's his next special coming out? I'm going to read his book. They're doing intelligent things.
Yeah.
Not commenting.
Some people leave positive comments, like friends and family members, and other comics will leave positive comments. And some people leave like definitely positive comments. But what I've noticed is it is a lot more beneficial for a person trying to get people to their channel, to their page, if they leave something really negative and then people reply. So they'll leave like the most volatile negative comment, and then people will then go find them and be like, oh, that's, and so I was like, I wish I could block comments.
You can delete them.
Yeah, but then once you delete someone's comment, they know they're in your head, and I don't want them that privilege. So I just don't read them. Like if you're negative, I go, oh, remember, And then I go, okay, so what's the payoff? Do I really want my ego stroked by reading positive ones? Because that's really shallow in essence, to go like, oh man, everyone's loving me. And then versus that one time this woman's like, why would you say that about Chelsea Handler? And I'd be like, it was a joke. It's a joke. And I say that I like girls who have a hint of cunt in them. And like it's a joke. And then you're like, oh, and then you watch her fight online and you're like, I gotta block you. I can't have you in my life. Like you're just, whatever you're spewing, I don't want in my life. But you've hit the head on the nail. I desperately crave acceptance and people liking me.
What did you think initially? Because look, a lot of people deal with this. I deal with this. What do you think initially caused you to think, I need to add to myself like a storytelling ability in order for people to like me? Like, why did you initially even think that?
I mean, that's not even the, like, I have no idea. You know, I used to, and I still do. This is a hardcore secret time. I had to cognizantly stop doing this. I used to talk to people in high school and maybe in college. But in high school, my friend called me out on it. I would tell you whatever you wanted to hear, even if it needed me to lie to you. Like if you were like, I'm trying to think of the perfect example, but say you were like, Missy, whatever Missy, whatchamacallit is, a slut. She broke my heart. I'd be like, oh yeah. And then I would tell you whatever, I would want you to be happy. So I would tell you whatever you needed to hear about that girl, Missy, even if I had to make something up, which I thought would have been based in fact, even if I had to make something up to make you happy. And my buddy, Blake, called me on it one night, and we were at his dad's house, and he's like, I can't trust you because you're telling me things, you're lying to me. It was about this group called EPU, right? EPU is a group in our high school called a pluribus unum, and it was almost like a fraternity. And Blake and I had said we weren't going to do it. And then the older guys came to me and they were like, hey man, we want you to do EPU this year. I was like, okay. And then Blake pulled me aside and he's like, you're not doing EPU. And I was like, no. And I lied to him. I was like, fuck those guys, dude. They're not, we don't want to be a part of those guys. And he was like, cool, just so you know. And then they came to me and they're like, you're definitely doing it. And I was like, oh yeah. And I joined this group and I lied to my friend and I just lied to him, but I wanted him to be happy. And then when he called me on it, I said, I didn't want to tell you the truth because I didn't want to hurt your feelings. He was like, yeah, but you hurt my feelings now. I said, yeah, but I don't know which one would have been worse. And but I had to I remember I must have been a junior or sophomore in high school, and I had to stop. Like I would stay to my stuff like, hey, when you see ... don't bring up that. And then I'd get there and I'd be like biting my fucking tongue. But yeah, it is a crazy concept that you have pointed out to me that I definitely, and I've known this for a long time, but I definitely have a need for acceptance.
But think about that tension, right? Like there's a couple of tensions there. There's the tension of needing to be liked, so propensity to say yes when you don't want to. Then there's the tendency to live a double life because some people you're saying one thing, some people you're saying the other. So it's like you have to keep track of two lives and it's hard enough to live one life. But that tension creates humor. Like your story of like, I don't know why on that reality show you describe in the book where you're doing, difficult jobs like an exterminator and so on. In the episode that never even aired, the producer says, you've got to fight a bear. You already had like 2 concussions, like a broken shin, whatever.
Broken ribs, yeah.
And so they don't give a shit about your physical health. Yeah. They kind of want you to die in the series.
Yeah.
And you said, okay, I'm going to fight a 9-foot bear.
Yeah.
And they did not give you any guidance at all on how to fight a bear. And you're just like fighting a bear.
Dude, I used to want...
That knocked you out.
I used to want approval, like Hollywood approval, meaning like maybe I put it around fame back then. But like, I remember people saying like, I called my agent the other day. And I was like, who calls their agent? Like, I never called my agent. I always waited for them to call me. And like, people would be like, I have a relationship with my manager. And I was like, I can't even hear back from my manager. And so I think in stuff like that, I just wanted people to be like, it's interesting because whatever my flaw is in that, there's an opposite side. And I could say names of guys that I'm friends with that were difficult to work with. I was so fucking easy to work with because I would do whatever the fuck you wanted. Dude, I got out of the cage with a great white shark. I got out of a fucking cage. Like,
Right, so you had to build this ability also to conquer fears.
let me tell you,
If you're flying, that was the funniest joke ever when you're skydiving, and your main worry is that the lap of the Marine or whatever you're sitting on is going to get hard.
Yeah. My dad called me right before I did that. I was driving to Irvine, and my dad called me, and I said to him, he's like, you getting ready for production? And I was like, yeah, I'm just so you know, I'm going skydiving with Rachel Ray. And he yelled at me. He got mad at me. He's like, God damn it, you're not a fucking stunt man. You're a comedian. This is the problem. And I the first time I've ever spoken back to my dad, meaning like where I corrected him and I said, listen, Dad, I'm calling you because I need your support. I'm not calling you to reiterate things I'm already saying in my head. I need your support. Like, I need you to tell me it's going to be okay. Like, I already feel everything you're saying. I need you to be like, you're going to be fine. Everyone skydives. No one, like, very rarely do people die. And my dad was like, okay, I'm going to have to call you back. And then we hung up, and I didn't talk to him for like a week. And then I went skydiving, and I got this email from him. I wish I could fucking find it. This email was probably the nicest email, the greatest email my dad's ever sent me. And it was just saying, you're my hero. I can't believe you can conquer your fears and do stuff you know are dangerous, but you can rationalize this. Like, it was the greatest fucking email. I was in South Dakota when I got it, and I read it to my crew of shooters and sound guys. We used to all drink after we shoot in my room, and I read it to them, and like one of the guys started crying, one of the girls started crying. They're like, I wish I could get a letter like that from my dad. But yeah, my need for acceptance had driven me to a lot of the stuff I did on television.
And it comes across again as fearless. Like when you take the signal of taking your shirt off at the beginning of a stand-up special is that you don't care what people think. When the flip side is you do care what they think, and you're somehow conquering a fear in the middle there and creating humor. So it all kind of creates this psychological cocktail that results in your stories.
I didn't even know I was fat, to be honest with you, until my buddy started fat shaming me. And Tom Segura started fat shaming me as a joke, and he was fatter than I was. I didn't even know I was fat. I'm being dead serious. I knew I was a little overweight, but I didn't see it. I didn't see it the way that everyone else did. I swear to you, on both of my children's lives, when I shot that special, one of the Netflix special, I was like, bro, I look good. I'm being dead serious. I thought I looked really good. And then when Netflix put up that billboard of my belly, I was like, that's not me, right? And they're like, no, that's definitely you. And then I was like, holy shit. Like, I think part of me is a little bit oblivious. One of the things that you said earlier about me wanting to be the guy that lives the life of the party and is like the number one party animal, I think part of it is a need for acceptance, and part of it is like this pure obliviousness to the way people perceive you. Like, not even like, I go, I don't have a filter, but I really don't have a filter, and it's the reason I don't do observational comedy, because my observational comedy would be stuff that only I experience. And I'm shocked you don't experience. Like, we do a thing in our house called unassisted sleeps. That's when you go to bed without drugs or alcohol. My wife counts them for me. She's like, wow, you got 5 unassisted sleeps this week. And I was like, oh, thanks. Other people are like, whoa, I'm sorry, what? You don't just read a book to go to bed? And I'm like, oh, no, you don't do that? Like, so I think there's an obliviousness of the way you live your life that goes hand in hand with that need for acceptance. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it's almost like you were describing, you saw Tracy Morgan do stand-up at the Boston Comedy Club or the Cellar, and he's describing about how we all relate to,
who remembers finger fucking by the handball courts? Yeah. And we're like, well, none of us did that. It was a common shared experience in his life, and he just thought everyone did it.
But I thought just the fact that nobody relates to it is hilarious. Like, I would have been laughing at that.
Yeah, the fact that no one did it.
Right.
Oh, I got a pretty dick. You can suck it with the lights on. And you're like, wait, who recognizes that? Like,
But then you telling the story is even funnier because we get Tracy's joke, and then you're sort of his voice again.
I wish I could drink water the way you drink water. I can't do anything slow. Like you just took a little sip of water. I murder things. Like the second I take a sip, I just drink everything.
That's why I'm not a good drinker. It's because I can't just like chug beer.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, I gotta sip it.
I chug beer to an alarming rate. Like people, when I kill a beer, people are always like, they're like, really? I go, oh yeah, you don't take a breath before you drink and then open your throat and just let it pour in and not breathe? And they're like, what?
See, that's a joke.
Oh yeah, I didn't.
So there's no punchline.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah.
So you have like this real natural storytelling ability that is funny. You have funny stories. You almost put yourself in funny situations, and then you have funny stories out of it. The stories themselves are funny, and then the way you tell it is funny. And then in your last special, I think you have a lot more punchlines and a lot more act outs, which makes it even funnier. Hey, don't leave so fast. Before you go, don't forget to claim your free copy of my free ebook called Fact Me, where I share with you my answers to a range of questions on business, coming up with ideas, getting unstuck, Bitcoin, and more. Get your copy of my book at jamesaltucher.com/FAQ. That's jamesaltucher.com/FAQ.
These days, we're all investors, trying to be smart with our money despite our worst impulses. But at iShares, we believe that deep down inside of every investor is a better investor. One that's just waiting to be let out. Explore iShares ETFs and insights and let your best investor out. Visit iShares.com for more information.